sounds empowering to you, maybe for whatever reason you're unable to get out very much and you want to look for ways to connect with others, that's part of why I'm drawing people together once a month for this particular chat. And also, if you're ready to learn and connect to the best spiritual practices and rituals that can deepen your connection to yourself, to God, and to others. All right, keep going. Okay, so this is a photo from our first Compassionate Women's Retreat. In fact, Tanya, who's on our call tonight, is pictured here along with Terry and Shay and Sherry and Sheila and also Mickey. And we are kind of an outpouring. The retreat, Compassionate Women's Retreat, is kind of an outpouring of what our soul care sanctuary is intended to be, which is an opportunity for women to come together. And this was a unique group of 5 that took the risk to come together first. We'll have the next Soul Care Sanctuary or Compassionate Women's Retreat in April of 2024. So I've already started putting together the framework for that, and I'm really excited to start launching the plan for that in January. So look for those things to come out and just be drawn into the opportunity to take a risk. I think everyone who attended would tell you that it was one of the highlights of 2023 for them. It certainly was for me. Something that I needed in my processing was to be with other women on the journey. So please know that you're always welcome on one of our retreats or in our Soul Care Sanctuary, and I'll share a little bit about that later. So if you are joining me live, I'd love for you to introduce yourself in the chat, because there may be a couple of you that don't know each other. Our goal is to provide sacred space for your spirit to be nurtured, the tools to begin to connect more authentically, and show you how to cultivate deeper compassion. So days are busy, y'all. I hate the word busy, and I'm going to call it. The days are busy. In fact, I told a friend today I am over busy. Like, my schedule got a little out of hand. I like having a full schedule, but a busy schedule where I don't really have time to enjoy the moment is really, really difficult. So I think about gift giving and trips and ways to embrace the lights and the experience of the season, maybe through a child's eyes. Grandchildren, teenagers is what I've got around here. Maybe it's about setting up decorations or lights or driving around town and noticing those things as well. But we're really here to slow ourselves down, to be held, to be nurtured, to be centered again on what really matters at the core of the holiday season, and then of course and kind of carry that out through and into the new year. So I'm reading from a book tonight called and I almost forgot on this part. Our days are busy. The first book I want to highlight for you tonight is this one, Can Martha Have a Merry Christmas? Now, I don't even know if this book is in print anymore, but I got it when my kids were little, and it was like a permission slip in a book. It was a really awesome resource for me. And let me see if I can show you guys on the screen. See if I can get there. I don't know if I can or not. Let's see. There I am. Can you see the screen and me? So it's called Can Martha Have a Merry Christmas? And it references a scripture in the Bible about Martha and Mary. So let me read you a little bit about where this theme comes from. Long ago, a script was written for women to follow, and it has been enlarged and magnified ever since, until we are expected to be the Christmas magicians. As Joe Robinson and Jean Stahaley wrote in Unplug the Christmas Machine, women are responsible for transforming their families' everyday lives into a beautiful festival. No matter how busy they are, they bear the burden of pulling out a magical celebration out of the hat year after year. Like their mothers before them, they can sometimes be the planners, the shoppers, the decorators, the gift wrappers, the bakers, the hostesses, and the house cleaners. Although many men have started to step up, women are usually more concerned about these topics than men. So I want to be really clear in saying I'm not excluding men from being part of the equation, and that it falls completely to women. But for whatever reason, women tend to hold the burden. And we also sometimes feel like we don't have a choice when it comes to doing Christmas, and that we're bound by cultural expectations. Entertaining, being a hostess, taking care of others was also a requirement in Martha's time and in the times of Jesus. Let me read to you from the Bible. Jesus came to the house where Martha and Mary lived. And once he arrived, Martha put on her company glasses and activated her people pleaser gene. Responding to a script she didn't write, she couldn't see any alternatives. And yet Jesus' words to her, when she complained about all she had to do, implied that she did. So from Luke 10, Martha said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." Jesus responded, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has made the right choice, and it will not be taken away from her." She says, the author goes on to say, "I'm so glad that Jesus said Martha's name twice. This makes me certain his words were tinged with affection. There's always affection in my voice when I say my children's names twice as well." I imagine Jesus shaking his head in exasperation and smiling at the same time when he talked to Martha. He saw all Martha was doing to please him and to make him comfortable. He saw that her intentions were good, but still she needed some attitude adjustment. Jesus didn't come out and say that Martha had a choice, but he said Mary did, and Mary was a product of the same culture. As a woman, Mary also would have been expected to do the entertaining and the cooking, but she saw herself as having options. She saw that she didn't always have to do as society dictated, and she chose to sit at Jesus' feet. So sometimes when we're encumbered with the expectations of others or society, we find it difficult to say no and to walk away from experiences that we know better than to get ourselves into. So Anne Kurtz-Kernion, who is the author of Spiritual Practices for the Brain, she writes, "Consciously taking a few breaths grounds us in the moment and illustrates how breathing is a fundamental aspect of spirituality. The word breath is found in all major religions." And this is significant. I'm just going to take a break from the presentation for a second. This is significant. Breath and spirit are often translated from the same word. For instance, spirit comes from the Latin word spirare, meaning to breathe. Pneuma is an ancient Greek word for breath and is also translated as spirit or soul. The Hebrew word raush means breath or wind or spirit and is the animating dynamic of creation. Prana in Hinduism means life breath or life energy. In Native American traditions, the space between the in-breath and the out-breath is considered sacred space. So when we breathe, we are infusing our lives with the spirit and paying better attention to our basic gift of life. I love the thought that in the midst of Martha-like behavior, where we're busy, we're rushing around, we have a million things going on, we can stop in the middle of it and breathe and pause and wait. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to take 2 hours out of our schedule. It doesn't mean that we have to somehow carve out time that we don't have to start a new meditation. But some of you, I know from experience, have already started some other kind of tradition. And you have been, you've already been maybe reading Advent devotionals. Maybe you've been looking at an Advent calendar and kind of centering yourself. I know Lucinda has a practice of changing her diffusers in the morning and when she gets home from work. And I think those kinds of things that we do, remembering to set our atmosphere, set our stage for a calm experience, will really impact our ability to stay present in the moment. So here are some things that we can do to promote soul care for the holidays. First of all, we can take quiet time. we don't have to wait for quiet time until we're in a quiet space. I can remember having toddlers, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, who were bustling around and playing games and really making a ruckus and a mess. And I remember thinking, how am I supposed to find peace in this chaos? And I would turn on some music, or I would turn on a TV program, or I would sit down in the midst of the chaos and find a book or a resource that really I enjoyed, and I would create space in my presence for it to be quote unquote quiet, even though I could still hear it. It was the quiet in my heart that mattered the most. So you can also prepare a sacred space. Maybe it's a small tabletop Christmas tree if you're not going full out to decorate this year. Maybe it's just a nativity set or a menorah or one of the holy symbols from your tradition. But the important thing is, don't should yourself. Oh, I should do more quiet time. Oh, I should be able to do 30 minutes today. Oh, I should set this, differently, or I need to move this around. Set a timer. Maybe start with 30 seconds, 1 minute. Incrementally move yourself to 8 to 10 minutes to have quiet time for yourself. I've intentionally had to start doing this in the midst of my day because I find myself waking up right now and just sort of going into action. So my quiet time comes midday instead of first thing in the morning. And I've scheduled it that way. So I set a timer for 8 to 10 minutes. And I find that I can create space for quiet time. This book that I want to share next is called Pause, Rest, Be. And this is by Octavia Rahim. And Octavia writes about motivation and guidance we need to restore ourselves in the midst of all types of change. And this resource infuses yoga with also yoga movements, also with practices of stillness. So she starts with Savasana, which is corpse pose, lying flat. And that really spoke to me because I've been doing a lot of restorative and yoga nidra lately. She also talked about side lying pose, Parsva Savasana, a pose for the space in between. And so it has a space in the middle. And then brings us back to child's pose, which is that very simple kneeling pose that you can do and has great writings to go along with each of those poses. One of the quotes I liked most was this: "Your heart may be broken. Walk through the opening. Rest in the inner sanctuary of your being. Place your most intimate, soft, and longing prayers on the altar within your heart. This is one way to remember you are whole." So those kinds of little reminders have served me well during this time. Another way I've practiced soul care already in December and November is by saving and sharing posts that mean a lot to me. I look through Instagram for inspiration, kind of like I shared at the beginning of our time tonight. I choose to use social media for purposeful scrolling, praying over others' needs, looking for ways that I can be a light and a blessing to others, and also maybe responding actively to something that I see online. In my everyday life, I also choose to notice simple ideas for encountering what is holy in my everyday. I use my senses a lot. I go outside at least once or twice a day. Here in Arizona, that's really easy to do because it was like in the mid-70s today and it was absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm always sure to tell somebody what I notice. And I think that level of accountability is really key. And then that's what I was going to say is the level of accountability is key. So checking in with yourself and your calendar. Have you scheduled space, enough white space? I didn't have enough white space in my calendar this week. And so I had to refigure some things so that I could block that time differently. I had to select a resource that meant a lot to me. And I also spend time in Marco Polo and in direct messages with people, checking in, seeing how they're doing. Because I know that's a reciprocal kind of relationship where I ask how they're doing, they ask how I'm doing, and we share in those ways. So it feels really, really powerful. Okay. Next, let's talk more about how and where to practice breathing awareness. So I have five main places that I learned about, or I kind of synthesized from the very wonderful summary that Anne gave in her book. And she did a lot of studies. She talked about a lot of studies and the ways that people benefit from focusing on their prayer. For example, psychologists Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert conducted a huge study with more than 15,000 people and 650,000 data points, concluding that almost half the time, subjects were not even paying attention to the present moment. Their attention was on the future or on reprocessing a past event. When we live like this, we aren't happy because our minds aren't here now. People were happier taking out the trash or doing chores if they were present in the moment than when they were vacationing or attending a party, but not living in the moment. Killingsworth and Gilbert concluded that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind, and their main conclusion is that we must ground ourselves in the present moment to nurture happiness. So these are some ways that we can do that. You can see I listed that one as number 3. Number 1 is our waiting time. Instead of being angry that we got stopped at the stoplight, and I've really been working at this one, especially as I've been driving more this week, that's an extra wait time that we have. It might be tempting to grab our phones and take care of an urgent matter, but that wait time could be used for our silence and our breath. And I'd like you to practice with me. Put both your feet on the floor if possible, or just get into a comfortable position. You don't have to get all yogic, you can just breathe through this experience. This is as simple as it can be. You breathe in for a count of 5. Hold for a count and breathe out for a count of 5. Just bringing awareness to your breath. One more time. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Just bringing awareness to your breath can slow your heart rate, can bring attention back to your body, can help you refocus and give oxygen to your brain on things that matter the most. So why can't you do that at a stoplight? Why can't you do that if you're waiting in line to check out? What's keeping you from doing that when you are waiting anywhere during the holiday season? Another calming breath technique is to breathe in and hold your breath for a count, but then exhale longer than you breathed in. So if you breathe in to a count of 4, hold it and breathe out a count of 6. Really being clear to empty your lungs. These kinds of circular breath techniques, calming breath techniques, 5 and 5 is considered a whole breath. 4 and 6 is another rotation people talk about in terms of meditative breath or yogic breath. But you can find these really simply in an app or on YouTube. Just Google breath techniques and they'll pop up. One app that somebody recommended that I haven't had a chance to check out yet is Mastry, Mastry. That might be one that you want to consider as if you want to get more into what those calming breath techniques are. I'll come back to that in a second. So number 3, present moment, like we talked about. Number 4 is kitchen and outdoors. When I was walking to the convenience store today with my dog, I was enjoying the sunshine. I was enjoying watching the cars, the buses come back with the kids from school, being mindful as I walked of my breath and how I was feeling in the moment. Washing dishes can be a place where you practice breath awareness. I know that seems really counterintuitive. Like, I hate washing dishes. Why do I have to think about it? I turn on music while I'm washing dishes. I create an atmosphere that supports that. And then I focus on the joy I feel in giving the dishes a renewed sense of clean, I guess. And then the last mindfulness, and we'll talk about that more in the next couple slides. I really believe that there are three main pillars for thriving through the holidays. Number one is to be in a mastermind. And masterminds are sometimes we use that word for business. But I think a mastermind of people who are practicing soul care with intention is helping you grow in a safe and sacred space. So finding other people that are on the journey with you can really impact that. Also, practicing more deeply the practice of mindfulness so that you can cultivate soul-filled thriving, purpose, and inner wisdom. And then I've coined the phrase this year, micro-planning. And micro-planning by putting together sort of a vision for my month, putting together a calendar that supports my vision, helps me cultivate deeper conversations and increase compassion within my relationships. So as much, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because I want to get to our Aroma Freedom session, but how are you currently creating a mastermind of other women who practice spirituality the same as you? Is it through text message? Is it through a WhatsApp chat? Is it in a place that you can access regularly? Maybe it's in our Smart and Spiritual Women's group on Facebook. Maybe it's somewhere else. Who are the top 5 people you allow to influence your life? And is there somebody or is there a group that's currently safe and sacred to you? And is there anyone that you want to invite to join you on the journey or support you or let them know that you're doing this? Finding mindfulness in the minutia, kind of like I was talking about washing dishes or taking a walk. What resources are you already using that are drawing you closer to your inner wisdom and to being the best version of yourself? Are you paying attention to books and resources that are out there that impact you? Listening to podcasts that influence you in a positive direction? What are you learning about in terms of nourishing your soul and drawing closer to God through scripture reading, through intentional prayer, through service to others? How are you looking to spirituality as less about going to church on a Saturday or a Sunday and more about cultivating that spirit within you? And then how do you make it happen? Are you prioritizing with space and time in your calendar? Are you working with others to thrive together? And are you starting to expand your worldview so that you start to understand the lived experiences of others and intentionally pulling that into your monthly plan? So maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed. We are just a full-on invitation. We are always looking to add people to our soul care sanctuary. I did start to make a space on an app called Heartbeat, so it's easy for people to find, easy access when you're in line waiting and you want to connect spiritually with the core of women. This is a great place to do it in the Heartbeat app. We're getting better and better at learning how that works. It is an opportunity for you to come in and be an active member of that group, or seek out other options like the Smart and Spiritual Women's group on Facebook. If that's a place where you feel like your soul can be nourished, we'd love to have you there as well. So remember, this soul care sanctuary is actually a great example of a place that you can create and be part of the mastermind. You can dive more deeply into these mindfulness techniques that we started to talk about today. We can also micro-plan together, and that's what our first care circle of every month is focused on, is what are we taking into our month that's really going to impact and have the best outcome for our spiritual and soul care health. So remember that there is a $10 off per month coupon. If you decide to join our soul care sanctuary, you just use Care Circle discount. That's the new code that you have to use to check out. I can send you the link if you don't have it. But I'd love to have you come and be part of the inner circle, the Care Circle, and use the discount code because we are going to start increasing the cost in January. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. We're gonna shift gears. I want to close tonight, this part of the session, with a poem by Anne Weems, or a prayer by Anne Weems. This is a very old book that I've had on my shelf for years. Did y'all know I used to work in worship planning in our Christian church here? And so that's why I have so many of these resources, because God was always near and dear and present. And I was always looking for beautiful writings, spiritual writings. So Kneeling in Bethlehem, like I said, about Can Martha Have a Merry Christmas? You may be able to get this one used as well, but this one was printed in 1987. So it's quite old. This is called In Search of Our Kneeling Places, and I'll close this part of our time with you. In each heart lies a Bethlehem, an inn where we must ultimately answer whether there is room or not. When we are Bethlehem bound, we experience our own advent in his. When we are Bethlehem bound, we can no longer look the other way, conveniently not seeing stars, not hearing angel voices. We can no longer excuse ourselves by busily tending our sheep or our kingdoms. This Advent, let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that the Lord has made known to us. In the midst of shopping sprees, let's ponder in our hearts the gift of gifts. Through the tinsel, let's look for the gold of the Christmas star. In the excitement and confusion, in the merry chaos, let's listen for the brush of angels' wings. This Advent, let's go to Bethlehem and find our kneeling places. Hopefully some of the ideas, nothing super original tonight, but hopefully some of the ideas bring you closer to the Christmas experience that you're hoping for. Perhaps it's opening your heart to being a little bit more like Mary and a little less caught by the spiritual trappings or the societal trappings of the season, and allow you time and space to just breathe and enjoy every bit of your holiday. If this was the only section you were coming on for tonight, you can hop off. Otherwise, I'm continuing to record, and I want to take you through an aroma boost. Given the opportunity, what we just talked about was taking space, taking time. And it may seem like, as I say that, yeah, right, Ange, you don't know my schedule. You don't know what I've committed to already. You don't know the expectations people already have, or I make cookies every year that people are expecting me to make my cookies again. So I want to use the aroma boost time as a way for you to bust through those limitations, because really that's what those are, limiting thoughts that are keeping you from seeing the bigger picture. I'll give you a quick example. Yesterday I got I got bad news, nothing like emergency level, but bad news about my son's car and a repair that we were hoping to have done. And I was a bit overwhelmed by it, and I didn't know what we were going to do. And I asked for more time to think about it. They got back to me today, told me I had until tomorrow morning. I wanted to rush right down there, but I knew I had carved out space in my day to just breathe, and it would have eaten up that breathing time. So I was able in the moment to say, of course I'll come over tomorrow to take care of this issue. Even though in my heart, I thought I need to get it done right now. I'll do it in the morning. So I want to offer you that as an example. Another thing that happened to my day today is that I was supposed to meet up with friends. And one friend had an unexpected opportunity with her mom that she didn't have when we made the plan. And she called and she said, hey, I can't make it, but you guys can go ahead and meet. I also took that as a sign that I didn't need to show up. I wanted to be there more than anything. I wanted to be there with my other friend, but I also knew that it would be much more enriching if we could all be together after the holidays. And so it gave me, again, it carved out more space in my life because I'm using the boost techniques to figure it out instead of the techniques that keep me stuck, right? Or keep me experiencing the same level of overwhelm and frustration and anger and resentment, right? Figuring it out. So let's do an aroma boost. I'm assuming my stories are triggering, like you're understanding that I'm on the same page. I know, Christina, you shared at Care Circle the other day about some things that have been a little bit off in your life. So again, we all have things that are a little bit topsy-turvy, but let's use the aroma boost in that experience to take an issue, one of the issues that you're having, finding time for the breath. Maybe it's finding time for a special thing that you want to do with your time, but you don't feel like you can. Whatever it is that you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed by, we're going to do the second part of the presentation with the aroma boost. So you're going to want lavender, stress away, and frankincense, or either one of any of those three. You're also going to want an oil to help anchor in the shift that you experience. So something that is uplifting and powerful to you. I've been using Believe a lot the last couple of months. In fact, I've used it so much, I'm almost out in this bottle. So I found a new bottle today. So I got to go change out. I love putting my rollers on bottles that I use a lot. So there's still Believe in the roller, even though there's not a lot of Believe left in the bottle. It's still on the roller. So if you can find frankincense, stress away, and lavender, great. If you can only find one or the other, you can do that as well. Okay. All right. Let me share my screen again. Can y'all see me when I'm sharing my screen too? I'm not sure how the tech works on this. Is it working okay? Is it distracting? Okay. Okay, good. Oh dear. Oh, I forgot to mention this part too. I'm sharing the wrong thing. Do you see the page that says holiday goals? You see holiday goals? Okay, good. Can you still see? Okay, good. So knowing your limits, this is from my ebook. Those of you in Soul Care Sanctuary probably already have it. I also sent it out in one of my emails last month on my email list. But if you don't have it, grab it, because there are some really good micro plan tools in here that I forgot to mention. So holiday goals, if there are things that you have in mind to do this holiday season, write them down. These are some of my tips for maintaining the holiday focus and making plans. There's gift wrap in here. But then at the very end, that's why I pulled this up. At the very end, I put in the 60-second aroma freedom. So the process that we're going to do tonight is this. So you can just follow along with this process. You can print out this page 22, the very last page of the ebook, so that you can have it at your fingertips if you need to access it again. Because goodness knows, as I'm sharing it with you tonight, I'm thinking of 3 other situations where it could come in really handy. So identify a current stressful situation, experience, or memory, and then identify how you feel when you picture it. What's the main feeling that you have? Sad, angry, frustrated, hurt, frightened, guilty, overwhelmed, etc. Then find where you feel that feeling in your body, or where in your body you notice discomfort. It's really important to think about the feeling and the body together. I'm yawning because I'm clearing as I think about mine. I've been doing this long enough, my body goes into like, oh yay, we're doing the aroma freedom. Woohoo! I'm gonna yawn in front of all the people. Okay. Next step, what is the negative thought you're telling yourself? This is not the time to be like, I can do it. This is not a positive thinking time. What's the negative thought that you are telling yourself? If you don't have oils, you can use lemon orange fragrant flower until you get them. That's for the people listening on recording. But you're going to put a drop or 2 of the memory release mixture into your palm. Cup your hands over your nose and mouth, and then just breathe in. Kind of like we just talked about. Take that extra pause at the top of your breath, and then let it out. As you close your eyes and breathe the oils into the image of the situation you're thinking about, focus on the negative thought and breathe deeply. What do you notice? Is the image or the stress or the situation fading, dissolving, maybe seeming farther away? Are you starting to feel more calm or more free? A lot of times people report some sort of shift happens, a positive, empowering shift typically. There's my shift. Sometimes tears happen. Tanya will know, we call them dustpan moments, where we're going to need somebody to sweep us up off the floor. But this is, the oils are, remember, shifting patterns, old patterns in your limbic system. So what's the old limiting belief that needs to change? Let's do one more round. Maybe the stressful situation isn't the one that you thought it was. Maybe it's something deeper. Bring it to mind. Identify how you feel. When you picture it, where do you feel the moment? Where do you feel the feeling? What is the negative thought you're telling yourself? Take the drops of memory release blend, stress away. It's equal parts stress away, frankincense, and lavender. Cup your hands over your nose and mouth, and then just breathe into the situation. What new insights, beliefs, thoughts come to mind as you let the old drift away? So that's just two quick 60-second rounds, 2-minute rounds. We didn't spend a lot of time on those. Hopefully it started getting your thoughts in order, creating peace in your chaos. Think of one or two things that you can do right away to take action on the process, on what the stuck energy. What can you do as a result of having processed that old belief? It may be making a list. It may be reaching out to a friend. It may be committing to an early bedtime. Maybe that's mine. It may be sending an apology note to someone. That is also mine. An action that you can take in relation to what you were feeling stuck about. Maybe you want to write some things down as you consider what you're going to anchor into now. Maybe there was a piece of tonight's presentation that particularly stuck with you that you want to hold on to as a mantra for the month, as an affirmation to remind yourself that you're doing a good job. Nobody talks to my best friend that way. Maybe you want to create a picture of some kind that shows what it is, or save something to the, like I save my microplan photo collage to my phone as my wallpaper, so that I can see it every time I pick up my phone. But think about what it is that you choose to anchor in relation to that. What are you letting, you've let go of some of that. Now, what are you choosing to do moving forward? You're going to use that other oil that you chose, the one that helps you feel courageous. Maybe it's valor, the one that helps you feel centered. Like I said, mine is believe. Although there's really nothing left in this bottle. I'm just going to take the lid off so I don't forget. Empty bottle. Your power pose could be your arms above your head. Could be hands on your hips. Could be prayer pose. Hands over your heart. And then you're going to just use that oil and that affirmation and that power pose to anchor in this new belief, this new thought, this new direction for the rest of your month. You can practice some of your breathing techniques that we talked about tonight. After you've repeated that to yourself 3 to 5 times, consider who you can tell about it. Maybe it's something that you share in our group, maybe our retreat text message, maybe our soul care sanctuary chats. Maybe you have a trusted friend or a family member. Maybe you need to get it on your calendar and microplan it. Maybe you need to check in with yourself next week on Thursday and see how you're coming towards your goal or on your tasks. Come back, maybe make a note in your calendar about something you thought of tonight, and so you can come back and reference that for yourself next week. But be accountable to the work that you've done, because that's hard. It's hard work to do. And then always allow for grace. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending, from C.S. Lewis. Those unexpected phone calls are going to happen. Thankfully, it wasn't a disastrous, life-altering decision or phone call for me with my son's car. But there has to be grace in your day when your friend needs to cancel or you have to reschedule. And instead of filling your calendar, you empty it. And all of a sudden, you've been given back the gift of time. Allow for those moments to happen. Allow for yourself to sit at the feet of Jesus. Next, today, the 12th, we're going to do a 60-minute breakthrough session. So if you just started to kind of tap into some stuff tonight, or you realize there was some more that you wanted to focus on, my theme next week is going to be preparing for 2024. So come ready for that in terms of your goals for next year. This one has been kind of a small one focused on the month, but that next week, The full Aroma Freedom will be more about like, where are you headed in the next 3 to 6 months, maybe even 12 months. And then on the 18th, we'll do another Care Circle catch up for those of you who are in our Soul Care Sanctuary. That will be then. And then, of course, we're having our retreat call on Wednesday night next week as well. If you don't have the Holiday Survival Guide, you can download it with the QR code. Like I said, it should be in an email from me, but if you need it, you can grab it here. And I'm always looking to support you to elevate your journey with purpose, people, and possibility. Thanks for being part of tonight. I hope it was enriching and enlivening to you in whatever stage of the journey that you're on.